We're back at you with gloves off, and today we have candidate Rick Laurel for District 6, right? Of the
Yes,
city of
sir.
Laredo.
Yes,
How are we
sir.
doing today?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for stepping up, number one.
Thank you.
Let's touch base a little bit on why do you want to run? ¿Qué pasó? What made Rick Laurel decide to run for city council?
Right. Well, there's always a switch that turns on, right? That makes somebody want to come forward with such a venture like this. It was for me. It was our kids are starting to look through for college, and a couple of years down the road, and there was my kids made a comment of, well, what does Laredo have to offer for me to come back? And you start thinking about what is it that brought me back after I left for college, and it was family. But we want our children to come back for more than just family. We want our children to come back for to live a prosperous life, have a great job, perhaps even get more continued education, start a life, be a Laredoan.
Sure.
Be proud of Laredo. So that was really what sparked my interest and wanting to help and wanting to be the voice
Right.
of a district that a very powerful district that's growing, a district that has all the potential in the world of expanding, and a city that's on the verge of boom. If we play our cards right, Laredo can be a very explosive metroplex in the future, and we just need to make sure that we play our cards right.
You're absolutely correct. Laredo has grown. I'm from Laredo, and I left for 16 years. When I came back, there were neighborhoods and stuff, neighborhoods in between neighborhoods, and now you can get lost. Go down the south.
Right.
I got lost the other day going to LBJ.
Right.
And
Thank
so
goodness
it's
for
grown.
Google Maps, right?
And what happens is that you're also correct. There's no jobs for our kids. Okay, a lot of our young adults get out of college and they find a job elsewhere.
Right.
And that changes because we have a lot of apparent business. We have a lot of movement that we see, but where are we actually? Understand?
Right.
We have a lot of construction nowadays towards the north and towards the south. I see a lot of small businesses are going into franchises, bringing in franchises from up north, bringing them down here. You have a lot of restaurants here, which tells me two things. One, people are investing. People want this community to grow.
Right.
But do we really have the growth for that in the future?
The building blocks.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
And yes, I used to live in District 6, and I know the current councilman. I've known him since we were kids, Charlie San Miguel, the councilman, and he's on his way out. And so now we have a group of individuals that want to lead, okay? And that's great to see.
It is.
Okay?
It is. That means that people want to make a change, and it's a crowded pack, but it's good to see that a lot of people are looking into this race and want to be part of this race and want to partake and make a change.
No, you're absolutely correct. I've seen a lot of growth within the import-export. It's always been, okay? You yourself are a broker, correct?
Yes.
And that has, how do you see that in the future? Do you see that continuing that? Because of course we're the largest port. What do you see with all the rhetoric going on with NAFTA and everything else? What do you see?
I think NAFTA will get amended. It's not. I don't believe it's going to go away. There's too many jobs that depend on it. Too many families that put food on their table because of NAFTA, not only here but elsewhere. I don't think it's going away. I think it's going to be amended. I think that we're all going to be, once it's behind us, we have to be ready, because Laredo is the largest inland port for the U.S. and there's a significant, $250 billion cross through Laredo's ports every year.
Correct.
The amount, just like we're trying to capture the sales dollars going from Mexico to San Antonio to Austin to San Marcos, I think that we should try to capture the same have the same mentality, but for that type of industry, some sort of, creating manufacturing, creating a new industry that NAFTA's regulations can help us, you know.
Right.
You know, light manufacturing, Mission, Texas just got Black & Decker plant. Why couldn't we have it, right? Why didn't we have it? Why don't we have other sorts of, why are we competing so much with surrounding cities when we are the largest port?
What do you think is a problem for that? Do you think we have bad negotiators inside City Hall?
I think they don't just have never been around the import-export industry. Nobody on city council or in the past has ever come from that industry. I hope to be the first. Okay. So there hasn't been anybody in the transportation, import-export, supply chain. You know, this will be the first time, and I'm the only candidate that's running that
understands it.
Yes, yes. So you know, in talking to the transportation industry and the Mexican brokers and U.S. brokers, you know, they said, well, okay, well, what differentiates you? Well, I'm going to understand the phone call when you call me and you have a headache. Right. Somebody else might not. You know, they're in other industries, and when they call and they hear complaints from a different industry, they won't understand. So I understand the biggest industry that Laredo has to offer.
Correct. And that's good, you know, because we need that. We need negotiators inside. And if you can negotiate for that, that's an A+. And I'm going to post this out there. If any of you all want to call in, ask some questions, please do so. The number's up there. And folks out there, that are not on Facebook and you're in your job and you can't listen or watch the video at the same time, download Border Indy app. It's simple, and you can hear us live anytime you want. Back again. Laredo, in the whole, okay, has one thing particular than others. It has its own little culture. Right?
Very.
Okay, that Tejano culture that we have in here. Mm-hmm. And we're not letting it go, and it's not going to go, and we're proud of it, right? Kind of like the Cajuns in New Orleans. And it's just the same. That's just right. The way it is. But what I'm seeing now is we're seeing a lot of folks adapt to it, okay? What do you think about the 250 National Guard that are coming down? What do you see about that?
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with militarizing the border is basically what that's doing. It causes added heat, added tension. I don't think that what is happening here in Laredo, Texas is as true as the way it's depicted in Washington. So I think it's all federal politics and agendas that are being met, and promises that were kept or that were made during a campaign. So I mean, I live in Laredo, and Laredo is to me, I see a safe city that is full of life and has every potential of being much more than what it is now.
Oh, for sure. But I also know that just like when we live in a neighborhood, we need fences. And we separate our neighbors, and we can still be neighborly.
Right.
But that's for added security of our own property in our houses.
Mm-hmm.
We all have that. In fact, Laredo, most neighborhoods have burglar bars. Why is that? I mean, so I understand why they're bringing it in. I understand the violence that's in Nuevo Laredo. I understand the violence that can spew over. It has in instances. We just don't want to accept that it's there. And once we accept that it's there, then we can live a little bit prosperous life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I look at it in a different viewpoint, and nothing bad, because there are neighbors.
Right.
We have family over there, and we love them to death. But
we've spent years tearing down walls, and now we're going to set up another one. You know.
I look at it as a fence.
It's really not a fence. It's a huge, ugly wall.
But here's another point that I'm going in there, and I'll take it from there. Is Laredo at one time had a base, an Air Force base, and that was the nucleus of Laredo for a very long time.
Right.
When the base closed down, everybody was moving out, said Laredo was going to fall, that Laredo was not going to make it, and we made it. Okay, we made it. We continued moving forward.
Yes.
Now we have a little bit more growth, but we'll we'll pass this and continue moving forward.
Right.
Understand? And
With
we
more
have,
growth to come.
you know, but what I'm trying to say is, what's going to happen with our kids? Where are they going to go? If we do not build plants, if we do not build the vocation jobs here,
Correct.
they're going to go elsewhere.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And those businesses, or let's say we bring down a Toyota plant here, if we have that type of infrastructure,
Mhm.
and they bring down, 4,000 employees. Well, those are 4,000 clients for small businesses and for our stores and for our restaurants and so on and so forth.
Tax revenue.
Understand what I'm saying?
Schools
So
and- yes.
that's what we're looking at. And so these 250, I'm looking at them as clients. That's all I'm looking for. They're gonna be giving money to the small businesses. They're gonna enjoy the tacos. They're gonna enjoy the margaritas. Believe me, they will. And that's the way I look at it. And for the next 6 months, all of a sudden they leave. Well, good. They spent the money.
Right.
So that's one way to look at it. Okay, those are powers that we cannot control, and those are powers that we just have to say, okay, let's
Right.
move on forward.
Right.
But let's take this. What will you do to your district? Let's look at that district because it's been growing.
Right.
Okay.
And north of the loop is very industrialized. It's warehousing district in mile 8 and mile 13. It's growing tremendously. There's warehouses that are going up all over the place. Our square footage for Laredo is at its max capacity. We need more development, more warehousing, more industrialized type of communities that grow in those areas. Looking at the plan that the city has of inviting different types of sectors, manufacturing, I don't think that we have what's in place, what we need to be able to be enticing to those companies.
Like what do we need in your opinion?
Well, I think we need to adopt a different tax structure. 4A, 4B tax to be able to put packages together to entice companies to come and invest in our community. Our community, it's very privately owned, very private. There's a lot of working with private sector and public. We'll have to work together to be able to make something, a nice plan for companies that will entice them to come to Laredo. San Antonio's doing it. We think of San Antonio as, okay, they got Toyota. That's the biggest manufacturer that they possibly have. But then you think, I just heard they brought a manufacturing plant, the Maruchan soups, of all things, right? Like, that is going out to another country, another part of the world, and bringing the business. They're not coming and saying, knocking on our door as much as we would like them to do. So we would have to go out and visit other countries and other companies and put plans together to be able to bring that type. Maybe not only manufacturing, but also biomedical, adding more hospitals, more types of industries that would give our kids more opportunities to grow, more chances for them to come back.
Yeah. What are we doing wrong?
I think there's 8 city council members that are very focused on their district. Once we get to the point where we can blend our wants with other neighboring districts and work as a whole, the sky's the limit.
We got a question here from Gerardo, and Gerardo says that the violence from Mexico, coming back to the violence in Mexico and the U.S., it's a 50-50 thing. I don't know if it's that much of a 50-50 thing if it's happening in Mexico. But unless we want the drugs that are coming in here, that might be the only reasoning. But it's a terrible thing that's going on in Mexico. It's something that we need to understand that it exists. We can't turn our back around. We can't turn the other cheek and say it does not happen. It happens.
Right.
And 2 weeks ago we had a firefight over there that they killed families and so on and so forth. It was all over social media, and when you talk to folks, they still say it doesn't happen. No, it happens. So
It happens, but it happens over there.
So we need to kind of understand that we don't want that to come in here, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're getting that extra protection.
I think that border cities have done a really good job. The sheriff's department, the police department, that we've done really good at keeping it at bay, right? For a while there, Juarez was the worst city in the world for violence, but El Paso was one of the top 3 safest. I'd like to see a study of where Laredo lands on that, but I think that it's being politicized in a neighboring country, what's happening in a neighboring country, to be able to militarize this area. And to a certain extent, I understand why, but militarizing is not going to fix it.
Yeah. Let me look at it. Let me put it. I'm going to change this way. Maybe some folks are going to say you're crazy or not, but I'm going to say it just the way it is, and nothing wrong with it. I have a lot of friends that are in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and every so often they joke around, and the first thing they say is, "Hombre, I just sold the house to el lieutenant de la Zeta del siguiente," y todo. And I'm like, what? And they all say that. Oh, se la vendí la casa al narcotraficante de this and this and this, and he paid this. Wait a minute, those are our neighbors that are here. Okay, maybe they get up in the morning and say, I'm going to go work across, and they go across and they do their thing, and at night they're here being protected by our own police. That might happen. But we do have that here. And once we accept that, then we can protect ourselves a little bit better. Apart from that, I believe that everybody should have their own defense.
So how does the wall fix that?
No, the wall fixes that one thing. If they really want to come in, the Border Patrol hasn't been doing it. I don't buy this jargon that they say that the illegals that are crossing tons of drugs. I don't buy it. The most, I've seen several at the ranch. Están moribundos, they're dying. You give them water. The Border Patrol comes over and tells you you're aiding them. Wait a minute, we're being humanitarians and helping them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
there's a fine line between.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I rather, if they're going to take control of it, take control of it now. Do it correctly. And if we have to bring in somebody that, because some Border Patrol agents they're more of a search and rescue than they are more of a security.
Right.
Because they're out there in the brush getting people that are basically half dead. Right. And that's sad. And that's what we need to protect. And if the wall's going to protect somebody from dying out there in the brush, then do it. If it's gonna stop somebody from getting hooked on drugs, do it. Fine. Now let's change a little bit. I guess we answered what's his name's question. Let's look at small businesses. What do you think in small businesses here in Laredo? Do you think the council is pushing it?
I think the city has to do more to make it easier for business to happen. I hear lots and lots of business people saying, "Oh my, it takes so long to get something done, a permit, this or the other." If people have money that they want to invest here, and we make it hard for them to invest here, they're just going to take their money and go invest somewhere else. It's plain and simple. Business is business, right? And if I can't do business here, then I'm going to take my business plan and idea to another area.
And it's been shown and it's been proven. It's been happening.
Right. So we need to make it easy for business to happen. I'm pro-business. That's what my platform is mostly on. Pro-business, international trade. But it seems like we're sometimes our own worst enemy when it comes to advancement and growth, and we need to break that mold, right? That mold has been there for too long.
Yeah. I graduated back in '86, and there was an old billboard, there was an old propaganda that used to say, bring the buck to Laredo, the buck stays in Laredo. I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Yes. And
so we grew up with that, and you're absolutely correct. If we do not show them that we care here, they're going to take the money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Businesses and so on and so forth.
Anyway.
And we need to start modifying what we think, or either that. And I don't think really it's the council. I think it's more the directors and the top department heads that are so, how can I say, cemented into their own old ways that they might have to be flush them out, I guess, if you want to put it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I hate to use that term, but change them, change the way they're doing their business practices within the departments, change them.
And there are a lot of great people that work for the city.
Of course.
And they've been there for a long time, and we really have to just change the mentality of we can do it, and let's do it right the first time, so it won't cost us more on the next time. It's just trying to break that mold. Sometimes it takes forever, you know. When you in business, when you try and change something that's been going on for so long, there's a lot of resistance and a lot of pushback. But once you get over that hump, it's smooth. It's smooth running. You're so much better than when you were before you started the process. You know, Laredo is at a cusp where it needs to really focus on the future, not next year, not 10 years, but further down the line.
Sure. You have some good visionaries there. You have some good visionaries there. And you have some folks that really want to do stuff in the community. I think what you mentioned is for everybody to work towards Laredo, not just their district, right?
Right.
And I've always said this, you might be the city council of District 1, 2, 3, whatever. But once you're up there, you represent Laredo.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So folks need to understand who they're placing up there. People cannot say, well, he's from the south, or he's from the north, or he's from the west. You have to really analyze who's going up there and who's stepping up into those shoes and kind of help those folks out.
And believe me, my ideas of thinking of inviting companies to come and invest, it might not be in my district the best option. The best option might be in District 1, 4, 3, whichever
Correct.
one it is. But it means that it's coming to Laredo. When we go over there, I'm not going and I'm walking in and I'm saying, hi, I'm Rick from District 6. No, I'm saying, I'm Rick Laurel from Laredo, Texas.
Sure.
And it's expanding your vision of scope, right? It's being a little bit more alert, being a little bit more open-minded of what needs to happen, of us, not me.
Yeah.
And work with our partners to the left, our partners to the right, and just make things happen. Like there's too much, I guess, conflict there.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And it's different, you know. I see folks belittle projects of other districts. No, it's something that's there, you know. If the park was built, great. You know, folks drive to the park in the north from the west, from the south, and everything else to go work out over there. You understand what I'm saying? And you can't belittle. That's just something that it's part of the city. You know, I saw a lot of belittling of a water park that was made over there. And you're like, wait a minute, it's for the kids. Maybe I'll take my kids from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, folks, we need to understand that when something is done in Laredo, it's for everybody. It's not just for one district.
No.
You know, and that needs to change. I believe we have a good mayor. I believe we have a mayor that's trying to do something there. But and that's an excellent position because he has to be the mediator between everybody.
Yes.
And
he's proactive.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And he has to be that way.
Yes.
And we had Raul Salinas, who was kind of that way. You know, Betty Flores was. Each one of them had their own different means, but they got things done.
Right.
And I think that it's going in a positive direction.
Totally.
And how about, let's talk about this department heads. Okay, let's talk about the fiasco that occurred last year with the FBI. What's your take in that?
You know, it was all driven by the Tannenbaum monies that were given for the campaigns. I think that we have to be very vigilant about how we're not only doing business, but also as city employees, but also as ethical Laredoans, people in a place of trust, that we need to make sure that we do and think the right way, you know. It's sad to see that there was that type of a raid on our local government offices, but it just, for us new upcomers, it makes sure that we are more in line with the ethics commission and what we need to watch out for, and it opens up our eyes to stay the right path.
Okay. Here's a question, just changing it. Selma, your question is very simple. I want to hear your business plan, what you're going to have for bringing in forth for the city of Laredo.
The city of Laredo is ready to blow up, I think. And I think that our business plan should be, number one, take care of what we have right now and better it, and make sure that it's to its fullest potential. We need to make sure that our infrastructure is in place so that we can expand. Talks of new bridges are coming up. We can't talk about a new bridge until we start talking about an outer loop. So there's lots of projects that people have been telling me. Water parks. We need a library in the north. We need North Central Park to be a little bit more, have more of a nightlife, more of a amphitheater maybe, to where you can have more events there. I'm listening to a lot of constituents, and a lot of people are telling me that what they want is places to go. People want to be out and about and not always be going to the same things, right? So bringing libraries and rec centers to the district, I think, is something that is very key to the development of our children. Now, at the same time, the platform also states is pro-business. So it's making business easier. It's streamlining what we have to make business people like Selma or and her family to be able to open up more business and make it easier. But we have to start somewhere, and it has to be with our kids.
Sure.
And it has to be with our youth, because it's a good mixture and blend of what we have and what we will have in the future, and make sure that we don't lose sight of one for the other. We can't look towards the future until our current status is up and running at 100%, right? Or else the future will fail.
Understood. Good rationale. Here's another one that was just asked. How about a secondary water source?
We don't have a secondary water source.
No. What's your ideas for that?
Our ideas, I've talked to several people about secondary water sources, about having pipelines brought in from other parts, neighboring counties in the north. I'm open to having another water source. We have to have another water source. We can't rely on the river by itself. The Pico plant is not at 100%. I understand that we're throwing back, clean water into the river being processed. I mean, we have to think of a backup plan. We have to have secondary source of water to be able to cement our future, or else if the river dries up, well, then what? If we don't move on the secondary water source now, those pipelines can be routed around us, and then what?
No, you good ideas, and I think that those are things that need to be talked about, or I think they might be already on the table somewhere. So those are things that are up in the high of the scale of importance.
Right, and it was talked about, and what came of it was the water plant. A water plant is not a water source. A water plant is a treatment center. So we deviated from the need and put in a Band-Aid, I think, to what we have.
Good points. What else are you seeing?
I see Laredo. I see a different Laredo right now.
In what way?
Different Laredo right now than 6 months, than a year ago, than 2 years ago. People are hungry for Laredo to be the top city. People are wanting Laredo to be larger than it is, better than it is ever before. You say that there's a culture, and there is a culture, but eventually that culture is grown out of by the younger folks. Younger people want more. And what are they going to do if they don't have it here? They leave. So, hey, we don't want to leave our families. We want to be around our friends. We want to be around our cities. We want to, but there's nothing for me here. So people want that, but they need that help, that push from the city to be able to get Laredo where it needs to be.
I understood what you're saying. I see a lot of folks trying to bring in more projects.
Yes.
I see folks
And more power to them.
You know, they brought in a boxing match, and this past weekend that had a lot of hype, and
that's something that's been spiking as of late. A lot more concerts, a lot more fights, like you mentioned, Los Tecolotes. That's great.
You know, and folks need to understand that, and they always complain. There's nothing to do to Laredo. Well, there was a fight this past weekend. You have the Tecolotes coming up. You have a couple of concerts coming up.
Right.
Folks, Laredo's moving forward. People are thinking about it. People are bringing in events. Support them. Support them, because a lot of folks are not. There's a lot of talk, but yet they're not supporting what's here in Laredo, and that needs to stop. And that's just bring it forward.
Right.
There was another question I'm trying to get right here.
I'm looking at them.
From Magic. Magic, how we doing out there? Apartment types for the homeless people. What do you see about that?
I see homelessness as an issue, but we need to fix. We need to try and help these people out. I mean, they're here. They're Laredoans. Sometimes they're ex-vets.
Sure.
Why are they there? What can we do to help them? There's the humanitarian part of every single one of us that wants to do this job, or that's already in this job, that needs to think, we need to do something for this community. We do a lot of, getting them warm clothes, jackets, blankets, places to eat, places to sleep, but that's helping the situation. Not helping the situation, but helping them live through the situation.
Sure.
But what are we doing to really fight it? And I think that by creating some sort of relationship with that community, we can help them to better understand them. What do they need? What do they want? What is it that maybe there's something very slightly that we can work on to put them in jobs, to put them in work.
A lot of them are drug users as well, so we need to get some kind of drug rehab programs towards them, and get help for them. Basically.
Working with the courts, with the rehab centers, with the Dr. Gonzalez offices. I think that we need to really tackle that issue and get them to have a more prosperous life, because
I see. Excuse me for interrupting. I see the drug problem here in Laredo kind of high. Okay, and I see that we need to do a lot more preventative programs for them.
Right.
We need to get our kids off of that in a heartbeat. We need to get parents involved to see what their kids are doing. We can't have our kids being placed in a safe space because their friends are doing drugs and all of a sudden they get pushed in there with nobody doing anything about it. We need to stop that. And that's the biggest problem I see right now in Laredo. And I think everybody in unison can work together instead of working in their own ideas everywhere else.
Right.
And I think that's what we need. If we can stop them, get them on good habits young,
right,
instead of bad habits, and I think that's what we need to.
And Lacho makes a good point here on the thread. Everybody has this issue,
sure.
But some cities work better at getting that issue fixed, and we need to mimic that. If we don't know what it is, then we need to go out and find how other cities did it. Lacho makes a good point. Austin did great, and they found a way of dealing with it. We need to find our own formula of dealing with that.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I have a student of mine that's he's a lieutenant commander over there in Paladine, Illinois. Okay, he works for the Navy of Great Lakes, and I was teaching in Chicago's always, every time I've been to Chicago, it's been snowing. I don't care if it's May, September, October.
Beautiful
it's always, there's always snow on the ground. Or if it's not, at one particular time that I'm there. Anyway, they had a program in Paladine and the homeless and all that area, in those little towns, that they were placing jackets on trees and stuff for the homeless. Okay. Well, we came here and tried to do that. We got a citation. We told us you can't do that. We can't do this and all that other stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so we just went out there and basically just handed them each one. So we need to be a little bit more open-minded and all of us together work. And if it's going to be for the benefit of that, we need to basically, hey.
And I think we have all the pieces in place to be able to make that happen, right? The Casa Misericordia, my good fellow Rotarian, Mr. Ceballos, he does
Sure.
a lot for homelessness. The pieces are here, but we just need to find the right formula to make it happen. And the city has to be part of that formula, but a larger part of that formula to be able to make this go through fruition and make sure that it happens and make sure that it stays happening, right? Because you can start up a project and then just once you launch it and everything happens and okay, thanks, and then nobody pays attention to it.
And they put their cousin to work it, and the cousin cannot even play tic-tac-toe, and so that's what happens. You understand, and you laugh, and that happens, and all of a sudden, that one's the director of this project, and nothing's ever been done.
Right. So we need to make sure that we number one, we find what plan works for us, because
Sure.
it might work for one city, it might not work for another. Maybe it's a blend of two different formulas, but we need to make sure that these people are attended to, because they're part of our community whether we like it or not.
Yeah, of course. Here's another one. You talked about veterans. What's the issue with the Veterans Museum? I know that they wanted it in the park. They didn't want it in the park. They wanted it over here.
Well,
What's going on? If you have anything, if you know about it.
Right. Well, it's been a project that's been talked about for years. I think it's going on 7 or 8 years now.
A little bit longer.
Probably longer, right?
I heard about a donated house, which was the Farias house.
Right. So the
way back in
Farias-
2002-3.
Oh wow.
Okay, so
it's
been around for a while.
So the Farias donated the house.
Apparently, yeah.
That's great that local families want to be able to get involved, right? And then the push was for North Central Park. It sounds like that's already been put to bed. It's not going to happen at North Central Park. It's last I heard, that's where it's going to be placed. It's going to be next to the veterans off of Bartlett, their hospital, close to the hospital there.
Okay.
It makes logical sense. I mean, it's the old Air Force Base. I thought it would be something that would be really great at LCC.
The old fort.
The old Macintosh fort.
Yeah.
The Farias house is great, but I think that it would really quickly be outgrown. And if we want to have room for expansion, we need to not think about just certain limits, but where can we expand and make sure that we have room for expansion for all these projects that we're talking about.
And if it's at the base, that's a centrally located area anyway.
It is. Bartlett's very trafficked. It's like you said, that was the heart of Laredo back then, right? The Air Force Base was Laredo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great on that end, and yeah. It'll be great. Not only that museum, any other museums that are here.
More museums.
We have to support them.
Right.
We have to support them.
We need more museums in the city. It would be great if we can get some in District 6, kids museums, some sort of.
We have the science one at the mall, which is excellent.
Right.
I take my kids over there. They had great robotics programs coming out of there.
Yes.
Stuff that gets these kids with their minds expanding, and that's what we need to do.
Austin has so many of them. San Antonio, Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi is such a close city, sister city, that we can have those things. We can have those types of things in our economy, in our local districts. We just need to put a plan together and make sure that it works and make sure that we have all the right players in place.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm the one that can bring it home for this district and for the city.
Yeah. Those are good words.
Thank you.
Good words, good thoughts, good rationale. And here's another one. How about for the youth? What do we have for the youth planned?
Well, like you mentioned, we need to start with drug awareness is number one, because if we don't do it, maybe their parents won't do it. Youth are sponges. They feed off of what they see, what they hear, and now with access to all sorts of things on the internet, not only do we have to worry about drugs, we also have to worry about sexually transmitted diseases. We have to talk to them a lot earlier. We have to make them more aware. Quitarnos la pena de la plática con nuestros hijos. Being that we're their parents, but we also need to show them that we can also be their friends and show them and help them understand what they need to know about what's out there, because a lot of them don't. A lot of them get thrown into the drugs too early and they don't know what the repercussions are or the sex, and we need to make them aware. So children are like, we won't be here if it wasn't for them in the next 30, 40 years. So we need to make sure that they're taken care of, that they have places to go and, you know, burn all that energy that they have, right? Basketball courts, volleyball courts. North Central Park has a great basketball area and volleyball area. We need to expand on that. We need perhaps a skate park. We need more. We need to give them more to do, so that they won't, you know, have to think about things. You know, what was the saying? The empty mind is the devil's playground. Well, we need to make sure that those minds keep active, and they're at the library. District 6 might be a prime place to have a new library, a place to where kids can go, and it'll be the first, you know, all web access libraries.
We need that. Library is a good idea. We need, you know, how many schools are just in District 6?
Oh God, there's I think I counted like 22.
Okay, so if we don't have a library there,
less.
we need a library.
Right.
Okay, that's something that we need to understand, that one needs to be there.
Right.
And, you know, so that's, you know, we have one in the south, one in the central. We have another satellite ones that are out there. So we do need one in the north side of Laredo.
Right.
Something that's going to be accessible to everybody. Okay?
Right. It's just, North Central Park is a great gem for them. But at the same time, we need to beautify it. We need to make sure that, you know, there's a lake there. How many people don't know that there's a lake there? My son goes and fishing there, and it's a catch and release. We need to make that a little bit more family environment. Areas for people to go and sit down and have picnics. There's just so much that we can do to involve the parents and the kids to be out there in those environments.
And we want to thank two people that seeded that project off. That was ex-councilman Gene Belmares and Felix
Yes.
Velasquez,
Yes.
commissioner. So thank you guys for
Yeah, they did a
planting
good
that
job.
to what is now. And a lot of things that public officials do is plant the seed for it to grow later on. And now we just have to take care of the fruits of that. Tenemos que cultivar bien.
Cultivarlo y asegurarnos que los hijos tengan lo que necesitan para ser mejores. Because we want them to be better than we are.
Orlando's saying something here. Orlando Navarro, how we doing?
Nice to hear from Orly.
And what's he saying? I can't read what to say.
District 6 will be home to a huge tourist project. On killer land, do you support the issue? I support business and I support development. And I support, the city council has already made a decision to move forward with that. To the benefit of the city, to the benefit of the landowners, and to the benefit of Laredo.
Now you have to go forward with it. You see, some of those
Now we have
decisions
to
are
go
made
forward
that
with
we just have to accept, and we have to move with them.
Right.
And, you know, some of us, we might not like it, like the wall. Some of us do not like it.
Right.
But it's going to be there, so we have to move forward with
Right.
it. So we have to do the best that we get thrown at.
Exactly. So coming into this seat, hopefully with the help of District 6,
And the elections are when?
November 6th. November 6th is the election. October the 23rd is early voting. So yeah, it's something that's already in place. It's something that I respect. It's something that, you know, we are going to benefit from so many different, so much land that's going to be developed in the long run. I understand a lot of people have issues with the short run and why do we have to give benefits.
Sure.
And it's real easy. What were we just talking about right now? If I don't help local businesses strive here in Laredo, they're going to go elsewhere and you know and invest that somewhere else. They don't need to invest in Laredo, but they want to. And if you want to invest in Laredo, then let's work together to get it done. To where it helps you, it helps me, it helps the community.
Sure. And folks don't, folks from Laredo, some of us understand that in order to expand, you're going to be expanding on some of these landowners' land that they already have. So either we grow, or we don't grow.
Right.
So we have to understand that. You have Quillums, you get the Peñas, and it goes down the line. You have several families that are around the growth of Laredo, and you have to deal with those families if you want to grow that route.
Yes.
And some of these families are business intuitive, some of them aren't, and some of them want, guess what? Let's grow.
Let's grow.
And
let's grow together.
Have to deal with it.
There's no reason why we have to be at each other's throats to not grow.
I'm with that.
We want to grow, and they have the land. We can't do anything unless we buy the land, and we're not going to buy it cheap. So I mean, we've got to work together to get that rolling. And whether it's the Quillums, whether it's other families like you mentioned, I'm all about public-private working together to be able to expand the city. It's the only way that we're going to grow, because we don't own all the land around us.
No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And how about this? We're almost getting out of time. Folks, one more time, if you guys want to call in and ask a question, the number's on the bottom of the screen. If you guys want to download the app, it's Border Indy. If you guys want to sponsor, go ahead and call Mr. Eccles. He does a wonderful job on keeping this show going, and others.
Yes.
So one more. What do you have for Laredo? What do you tell your constituents out there?
I have an open mind, and I have the education that is needed to be able to bring this city to the next generation. The next generation depends on us right now, that we have to look forward to the next 20, 40, 50 years to be able to make this city grow and be able to be where it needs to be for us to be successful. I understand that I would only be in office for a short period of time, but that can get the ball rolling and open up people's minds to think differently. And with your support and with your vote out in November, we can make this happen. We can make Laredo grow. We can make Laredo be prosperous. We can make Laredo be beautiful. Everything that people, that my constituents have talked to us about, we can make it happen. There's no reason why we can't. As long as it's ethical, as long as it's right, then we should move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And wish everybody the best.
Thank you.
And everybody has their own points of view. So when you meet a candidate that's along your side, back them up.
Definitely, definitely. And I just want to say thank you to my wife. She's helped me out so much. She's my #1 fan, and my family, my kids. She's done a great job of being my backbone. She, without her, I don't think I would have been able to do this and a lot of other things that I do. So I want to thank her. Elsa Laurel, I love you. Thank you very much.
Until next time, guys, you all be safe. And remember, quit texting and driving, okay?
Be safe.
And prayers to the family that lost 2 this past week.
Yes.
Until next time.